Ubisoft hasn't had a big win in a long time. All their recently released titles like Riders Republic, Rainbow Six Extraction and Roller Champions already seem forgotten, with their Apex Legends style game Hyperscape shut down completely. But also known quantities like Far Cry 6 underperformed, and reactions to just announced games like Skull and Bones, X-Deviant and Ghost Recon Frontline range from lukewarm to straight up negative. It's not all doom and gloom though, they got some cool titles coming I think, but the question is, will those hit? Well, we will have answers on Saturday, September 10th, because that is when the big Ubisoft Forward is planned. With their blog post noting that they return in full force, ready to reveal updates and news on multiple games and projects from Ubisoft teams around the world, with an unveiling of the future of Assassin's Creed also planned for that same month. So what can we expect? I want to look at recent rumors and leaks and of course share my predictions as well. I overall think it's gonna be very interesting, so a ton to go over. Of course, if you are curious about the future of Ubisoft, then leaving a like on the video would really help me out. Subscribe for more videos like this, and let's go. Now we can immediately talk about a few titles that will totally make an appearance. The new Mario plus Rabbids game that is already launching on October 20th, and Skull and Bones that we now learned is releasing a few weeks later on November 8th. This will be the final big moment to push these games, so I totally expect them to do so, with hopefully a beta announcement for Skull and Bones, because as I noted before, I really think that we need to play this game to understand it, and hopefully it surprises us. Although I still think that only having naval combat will be a hard sell for full price, as I discussed in length in my previous Sunday video, and a link to that will be at the end of this one for if you haven't watched it yet. But of all the Ubisoft games that are still planned for 2022, I'm mostly looking forward to Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Next-gen only, first-person open world game. We can fly a Banshee, which looks very cool. Will this feel like a Far Cry Primal spiritual successor, but in the James Cameron world, or will they really take it to the next level, as we kinda expect from a new next-gen only game? Seems like the release date internally is November 18th, according to the same person who leaked the Skull and Bones date before it was revealed. This would also be just before the second movie, but then you would think that a proper reveal is close, right? I can see them already do it before the September 10th event, with then maybe new information at the Ubisoft Forward. The Division will take a big spotlight this year. They actually just announced a brand new free-to-play title called Resurgence that looks surprisingly good, especially because it's a mobile title. It really looks like Division 2, but for Android and iOS devices, set in the same New York open world, but it will feature a whole new and independent campaign from the Tom Clancy's Division 1 and 2 games, offering a new perspective on key story events. It should also have brand new game modes, enemies like the Freeman, new signature weapons, and unique gadgets. So it's basically a twist on the previous titles, but now you can play it on the go. With hopefully no pay-to-win microtransactions, but no info on that yet. Fingers crossed that they're not going to Diablo Immortal it though. We also still have Division Heartland planned. This is the free-to-play title, but on PC and Xbox. Should also be on track to release this year, even though we only have leaked screenshots. Sure, they could totally do their own dedicated stream before the September event or around it, but I'm sure they will talk about it during Ubisoft Forward as well. Now, I know a ton of people, including myself, want to see that Splinter Cell remake that started development in December last year. So yeah, by the time September 10th comes around, it's not even in development for a full year. Although they could do a Dead Space remake style reveal where they just show a teaser or some really early enhancements, so we at least get an idea of what they're trying to achieve. I think showing it would be a big win, so we might see it. The Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake is way less likely, as that shifted development to Ubisoft Montreal not so long ago. It was also delayed once again, so they're likely rebooting some parts of this project. Believe it or not, but there's a higher chance that we see Beyond Good and Evil 2. We just learned that it's not that, with Tom Henderson leaking that external playtesting is starting this month, which is a big milestone. And Ubisoft also mentioned the title in an annual investor Q&A recently, noting that they're still working on it. So if I had to bet, I would say they're saving the re-reveal for 2023 at the earliest, with maybe even a launch later that year. Although seeing some sort of new stuff from the game would of course be a cool One More Thing announcement, because every big E3 Ubisoft press conference and even the recent Ubisoft Forward events ends with a final surprise. This goes all the way back to Watch Dogs, The Division and Rainbow Six Siege. Yeah, back when Ubisoft was still promoting their games with unrealistic tech demos. They luckily stepped away from that, but they're keeping that One More Thing style announcement. In 2020 it was Far Cry 6 during the July Forward stream, and they also had a Ubisoft Forward in September where they revealed Riders Republic for the very first time. And last year in 2021 we got the very first look at Avatar, so a game that was already announced beforehand. So maybe Beyond Good and Evil 2 here, although personally I'm putting my money on a brand new Far Cry or Assassin's Creed. Because also in that investor Q&A, Ubisoft mentions next to the announced titles that there are also future projects for our brands, with among others Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six, The Division, and then they also mentioned some free-to-play games. Okay, one quick side note, no mention of Watch Dogs at all. RIP, I really think we will not see this franchise during this generation, and hopefully it will have like a big comeback 5 years from now or something. But the Far Cry mention is totally noteworthy. Like, of course, we will see more of this franchise, but we have no specific details on what's next now that Far Cry 6 is done. While, as tradition has shown us, Ubisoft likes to release spin-off titles after a mainline entry that use the same map, like New Dawn and Primal, and you could point to Blood Dragon as well, as that reused a lot from Far Cry 3. Well, seems like we will at least get more content with one, as in June 2022, yes, very recently, the voice actor behind one of the best new Far Cry characters in my opinion, posted that, hard to believe, but after almost 3 years, I'm still playing Juan Cortez. And yeah, at the end of Far Cry 6, we hear Juan talk with a smuggler who we all know is Vaas. So this is adding even more fuel to that Vaas game prediction I made a long time ago. And if you're curious about that full theory and all the rumors and leaks that point in that direction, I will leave a link to that video in the video description. Now going back to that post from the voice actor behind Juan, because he tagged Navid, who was the narrative director on Far Cry 6, and looking at his LinkedIn now, we see that he's working on an unannounced project for 1 year and 4 months already, which is more time than is mostly spent on Far Cry spin-offs like this. So while a lot of people from Ubisoft Toronto shifted over to the Splinter Cell remake, like lead game designer David, Navid is likely in charge of this Far Cry 6.5 game with another group of developers at Ubisoft Toronto. I can totally see them announce this during this event, with maybe a release later in the year, although early 2023 is probably more likely. And I always want to remind you of that QR code in Far Cry 6, which I still think is some sort of multiplayer free-to-play title we might see at some point as well. So while I'm feeling pretty good about my Far Cry 6.5 announcement, the new Assassin's Creed Rift is way more likely. I learned that there will be no more paid expansions for Valhalla, and that is likely because they turned a Valhalla DLC into a full game, as we learned according to rumors earlier this year. Basim will be the star of this game. It's gonna be set in Baghdad, and with Ubisoft's fall already being really crowded, I think this is an early 2023 game instead, so a similar window compared to Dawn of Ragnarok. So high chance we see it at the September 10th event, but I think they will only show a cinematic trailer here. Like, that was of course always a tactic for AC, show a cinematic trailer first, get people hyped, but that changed with Origins, and Odyssey didn't even have a cinematic trailer. Then they did it again for Valhalla, which really worked, and we also saw a cinematic trailer first for Dawn of Ragnarok. So that's why I think they will do a similar tactic here, but then we get a bigger reveal at the very special Assassin's Creed only event. Like, I would be very disappointed, and feel kind of misled if the event they were teasing in the 15th year anniversary video was just this Ubisoft Forward. It's not confirmed. I asked Ubisoft, they would not tell me if it was like separate. I personally think so, but again, it could be either way. Now, it is worth noting that the current Valhalla Prime Pack is ending on Monday, September 12th, and the days you see here are not correct right now. You can check the current amount on the Prime website yourself. But we already know that there is a new Prime Pack planned for September, and they never announced that beforehand. There are also a ton of potential AC announcements that could fill up this event. We got the leaked Oculus VR game, codenamed Nexus, a mobile title in collaboration with Tencent, set in China from the looks of it, like with the Rainbow Six mobile game, and also of course the Division. It only makes sense that we see that any moment now. I really hope the AC1 remake is coming. We discussed why that's possible in an JorRaptor video, also a link to that in the video description. And I really hope that we get a glimpse, just a tease at Assassin's Creed Infinity, because that's of course the true next-gen title with hopefully multiple settings. Just give us a teaser trailer so we can speculate on that and a bit more information, because it's kind of hard to understand what this will be. So anything on that would be awesome. And Valhalla will of course also get some love for the final year of content. I'm still holding my fingers crossed for an Origins sort of crossover event, although of course not confirmed. But we recently did have the voice actress behind Amunet kind of teasing it. More on that in that previous video. We'll also leave a link to that in the video description. Like, even if half of these predictions are true, I think September is already looking like a banger. And there are even more titles leaked and in the pipeline. But we should not get too crazy with these predictions. Like, I think the following titles that I will mention will likely be saved for the following years. So that will be The Crew 3, also leaked by Tom Henderson. The Crew 2 recently got some love with a special next-gen update, although from what I've seen, not everyone seems to like it. But yeah, they're working on Crew 3 likely. Maybe it's coming next year, but they could announce it here already. There was a Prince of Persia 2.5 game leaked, and there also seems to be an Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel in the works. But I also think that makes more sense for a 2023 release 3 years after the original. So I don't think we will see it here. Of course, the Star Wars game from the Division 2 team would also be really awesome, but yeah, that still seems far off. And of course, this studio, Massive, first wants to launch the Avatar game, so I really think that all the focus is on that. But maybe that's the one more thing for next year or the year after that. Now, I'm not expecting any surprises, like any things that I did not mention here. I would love it though, but I think even if like the Vaas game is true or any of the Assassin's Creed announcements would already be cool. If I could pick two things though that I would really like to see, a multiplayer AC would really have me jump out of my chair. Like, I would love that. And I think with the new combat system, that would be amazing. Maybe a free-to-play title, I can see that. I hope that's coming. And I think For Honor 2 could be awesome as well. I think it's probably like in the cards, looking at the support the first game is still getting, and there seems to be a decent sized community, so having a next-gen only For Honor game I think would be awesome, but I'm not expecting it here. I will of course keep you posted, cover everything on the channel, and maybe even do an updated predictions video as we get like real close to the September 10th date, because I'm sure there will be new rumors and leaks popping up. So totally subscribe to miss nothing. I will be back with a regular Sunday video very soon, as I just got back from my holiday break, so I will also speak to you soon. Check out that video on my take regarding Skull and Bones and other recent news by clicking on the screen. And I will speak to you next time. Goodbye.